Hello, and welcome back to Seawolf's Den. I'm Crafting Ron. As I announced earlier, I'm going to redo these Mage Knight, and I'm going to start with these Knights. At the end of this video, figure out the rules to how I'm going to give these away. Once I do, we'll get in contact one way or another. If you haven't watched Miniature Mashup, I'm going to do a lot of the stuff he does. In particular, I'm going to strip off the paint using acetone. I'll film that so you can see the way I do it. I basically emulate exactly what he does. And then I'm going to put them on bases, repaint them, and repair them. Well, and I'll probably do a lot of the video for the repair. There's not enough arms, replacement arms for these guys. So I'm going to have to make stuff up. And so there'll be some subtle differences between each one, and I hope you'll understand that. And every arm is different. This guy's got a pike or something. I don't know what that is, but that's broken off. So I'm not really sure what to do with that. A lot of the times I cut off hands and put all the weapons on them, but I've got a lot to choose from now that I've had some recent purchases. I could take this, just put it between his hands, or like this. That would look cool. Maybe the person had a lot of extra parts, so I may use those. First, just kind of keep the spirit of whoever had these before. I just feel like these things had a story, and I feel like that there's something unfinished, and so I'm going to finish it for it. Just kind of had a weird sense of unfinished out of these things. So this will be my next project. Until next time. All right, we're back with the Knights that I'm planning on giving away. Don't like to necessarily repeat everything that Miniature Mashup does. I learned a lot of this from Miniature Mashup. It's really technically my first crafting videos I watched was his, and then his DM Scotty's not long after that, because I was working with Mage Knight minis and I was just fascinated by it. I'm finding out that a lot of these old Mage Knights just pop right off because the glue's just got so old. But not all time. There's one that won't go. Now I use snips, and that doesn't always work good. I don't want to cut through them, but I want to grab a hold of it and try to pop it. Now that don't work. We can use flat scraping type knife. I'm not really sure what these are called. You can use one of those. Be careful. You can catch yourself, and I did a little bit there, but that scrapes it right off. So, okay, dangers of crafting. I did get myself, so I'll be a little bit more careful. Thought I could get away with it, but I did not. So these little bitty feet tend to be a problem. And I don't want to mess them up, especially if I'm going to give them away to somebody. So try to work around them and get as much of the foot as you can. See, that pops her out nicely. Now that you've got one, usually you get both. And you just go through one at a time until you get them all off, and then the next step is to bathe them in acetone, but not too long. This plastic will melt in acetone, but it doesn't melt right away. This paint, even though it's pretty thin, does cover up a lot of good detail. So when the acetone comes off, there's a lot of good detail underneath. And then these guys, I mean, look how small their faces are, and all that detail is there. They're tiny, so I'm going to thin out the paint that I use so that it comes out. There you go. More Mage Knight bases for the graveyard. All right, so all these get bathed. Now, for bases, I use something I get off Amazon, and I'll link it. I don't know if he's still around, to be honest with you. I haven't made an order in a while. You'll see a variety of them in here, but some woodies and stuff, and some I got. But the primary ones I use, I'll put it up there. I don't remember the name. They do a wide variety of different kinds. think what I use is these for the main miniatures. These are for larger ones, I think. Let's measure. Medium is what, 1 inch? That's close. And this is larger than that, isn't it? Yeah, 1.25 inches. All right, so all these guys will get bases. Okay, so they will get based, and then I will even, like I said, flock them with. I got some grass and I got some stone, and I'll just lay them out afterwards after they're painted. Next step is to acetone them, and I'll do that outside because the fumes are bad. There is a lot of danger to acetone. I wouldn't do it if you didn't know what you're doing. It's very flammable, and like I said, you can't leave these in the acetone too long. Don't dump them all in once, because then you're going to scrub this one while everybody else is melting away. Did that once, and the last one I pulled out was shredded. All right, acetone, as you can read backwards. I'm putting it in a coffee cup. That's probably too much. It's fairly cheap in the hardware store. Dipping into the acetone with your gloves tends to, but it just dries your skin a little bit. And then the paint gets on your hands pretty badly. So it is what it is. All I did was dip it in for a few seconds, and the paint's already coming off, as you can see. But this guy, now it doesn't all the way come off. Some of the deeper seeded paint, unless you really scrub, does not come off. And this is just my work table, so I don't care. It's an old dining room table that I slapped onto top of a computer table to make a rolling workbench outside. All right, so we got 9 guys. One of the arms popped off because it was either glued on by the previous owner or it was glued on by the manufacturer. So yeah, that's it on the acetone. I'll move on to the next stage. All right, just to show you, I've got a lot of leftover paint. So these have had time to dry, and there's still some paint, but I think I hit the areas where the detail is the most. It's really hard to see, but faces are there. So we're going to match these up to these guys. But actually, what I should do next is repair them before I prime them. This may take some pinning. This may take some work. Like this guy, I did have that spear. If I remember right, it's on a skeleton hand, but I can make that work. So that's the first step. Let's go ahead and look at this. I can have him pointing it down. Our first fix. I'm gonna get rid of whatever that is in his hand, and I'm sure we can make that. Try to minimize the cut. There. Only got like his fingertips, which is good. So we'll cut off that arm. Oops, you want to go this way. It's gonna look kind of silly because it's backwards, but only you and I know. I think that's cool. It'll work. Now, what I want to do is gonna be hard, but I can't just glue it. I can't just glue it. What we can do is pin it like I've done before. Take our hand drill again, and the most likely place to drill is right into his wrist. I'm not going to make it much longer than that. There you go. Stands, and there's one repair. Gonna glue it. Loctite super glue. Just glue it in. Alright, so we've got one guy repaired. He doesn't have any other issues. Of course that shield's a little warped, but we can move that. Let that sit. Alright, another shield guy. I don't know what he was holding. I didn't bother to look it up. I think, yep, see, it's got a little well, so it's intended to be interchangeable weapons. I'm willing to bet this is what belonged to him. I'm willing to bet that belonged to him. If that is true, I'm going to make the executive decision. I'm 100% sure that's the same. That's the sword. I never have liked Mage Knight swords. His face is messed up. Anyway, never been a fan of Mage Knight swords and the way that looks. So, a couple of things here. Alright, so we're going to dive into my bits and find a decent sword for him. This is more traditional sword and in the right hand. So, we're going with that one. I like that one. I've used something like that before. The same thing. We're going to cut that at the elbow. Just above it. Same position, more or less, but we're going to have to pin it. This has already do it right there. So we'll go ahead and drill a little bit more into it. Oh, that's cool. Paint will cover up some of the mistakes, and if not, glue will too. But I think that works. Okay, very similar in stance. All right, let that glue. All right, so we've got some of these like bladesmiths or whatever they're called. See, they had knives in their hands and a bow in the other. This sword really works. So I'm gonna cut off his hand. Cut off this hand. All right. That'll work for me. What's in his other hand? Let's make him dual sworded. All right. Okay, it's okay. It's got a little tech on it, but I'm just going to get to use it. Could be anything, so this guy's going to have two swords. Since these have nubs and they're made to fit together, I'm just going to go ahead and super glue the bow in. Alright, no bow on this guy. He's got a dagger. I like the detail on that hand, so I may go that route. See, his glove goes all the way up to his forearm, whereas his glove goes all the way up to his elbow. Okay. Let me mess with that later. All these guys had swords, so I could just give them swords of varying degrees. Okay. Alrighty, repairs are done. So we had Temple Blade Masters and Night Stalkers. These Night Stalkers are the ones with the bows. So two of them are relatively the same. They have their bows and daggers in their hands. I replaced each dagger with a more 40k. It's still pretty close to scale. I also added a bow or an arrow quiver to each one because I had them. So a little bit of enhancements there. The other two Night Stalkers are double blade, double weapon carriers. So I'm happy with that. Those are cool. Now the shield, the guys with the shield, this is a Shield Wall Knight. Yeah, it's Shield Wall Knight. This is the Liege Knight. Replaced his shield with a 40k shield. Now people can look at it and see that symbol and say, "Oh, it's 40k." Well, get over it. But I didn't like those shields. Those shields were just all bent up and stuff. And these are a little more durable in terms of they're harder plastic. So those got glued on there, and so did this one. And he got his, of course, his spear. Hopefully people overlook the skeleton hands. And the last three guys were Temple Blade Masters. Well, kept them as Blade Masters, that's for sure. All different style swords. A lot of blades. Sorry I didn't have bows. If I had bows, I would replace them, but I didn't. So I replaced everything else. Next is prime, and I'm going to prime them very lightly, and then start to paint. Well, first I'll put them on the base, and then start to paint. So there's those. Those are two shield guys. Night Stalker blade dudes, or nope, Night Stalker blades, Night Stalker bows. There you go. Okay, the Mage Knight rebuild, restore project continues. I've primed them and based them. I am amazed sometimes just how much detail gets lost in the horrid paint that Mage Knight did, and how much does come out when you do these, when you do the acetone. And if done right, the detail comes out really well. In most of these, they came out really well. after the priming. I thought I'd lose it in priming, but no, it really stands out after the prime. I don't know if it was there or I lost, but this guy, his whole face, unless he's wearing a helmet. I'm going to dive into a Google search. Let's see if I can see what his face was like, but it's definitely under a knight's type helmet, I guess, and he has a long ponytail that pops out of the back of it, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. So I'm going to try to bring out the detail with my paint and do it better. I really like some of this, and it's very subtle detail, which is why it gets lost in the horde paint that they do. Some of this is going to be challenging. I probably shouldn't have put the shield on that guy before I painted him, but I'll work around it. That's what we're looking at, and one by one this gets painted. All right, welcome back to the Mage Knight miniature conversion to D&D, restore, whatever you want to call it. I've got progress on a lot of things. I got 2 of them done. I got 2 of the Night Stalkers done, the ones with the bows. Pretty happy with those. Got it with flocks and stones. And in progress are the other 2. Now, originally they were both had blades, some kind of blades in them. This guy, his profile was just too wide, and he kept on getting knocked, and the swords kind of getting broken while I was painting other things or doing other things. So I put a shield on his arm using the same hand that was holding the sword, and just painted it so that it looks like he's holding the shield. So I'm pretty happy with that. Both of these are nearly done. I'll get those finished soon. And then we got the blade smiths, or the blade masters, or whatever they were called. They're in progress. And then we have the 2 other guys, Shield Knight and something else, but they're in progress. And then these guys are waiting for their pedestals. I put some skin on 1 or 2 of them just because I had extra. But I like having them on pedestals. These pedestals are handmade based on a video that I'll link to. It just was a good idea. I take a lot of allergy medicine, so I have a lot of bottles left over. And this particular one, and I also have acid reflux, so this is acid rouge bottle. I have a lot, and all you do is put a bunch of useless widgets in the bottom to weight it down, hot glue them in. Just pour hot glue inside. And I love the child-proof bottles that you can just spin freely while you paint and not unscrew the top. And you use double-sided tape to hold them down. I use Gorilla double-sided tape, but I'll link the video to it. Obviously I bought Citadel pedestals, 3 of them, and they're not cheap, so I decided to make my own. So progress being made. Hope you like them so far. Like I said, I'm not the best, but I think they'll be table ready for you. Until next time. All right, the Mage Knight restore project and giveaway. More or less done with most of them. This one is still gluing. These are still waiting to be finished painting, blocked. So we have 12 miniatures ready to go. The competition, we'll wait until February 24th. You guys basically had a week to qualify to win these. And the best way to do this, I think, is I'm going to post pictures at the end of this video, each one numbered, and I just ask you to tell me a story about one of these miniatures. You don't have to do all of them, just one of them. I just want you to name it and give me a couple of sentences about it. Tell me a story about this miniature. It's really why I play these games. I love the story. I love the challenges. This is what I like to do. And so, like I said, I'm going to post a picture, and each picture will have a number, and you tell me that number and the story, the short, very 1-2 sentence story, and give him a name. Right now I've got 1 guy interested, and if he's the only one, then he gets it automatically. But if there's going to be a competition, that's what I'm asking you to do. I should have this up soon enough so that you'll have a week to decide. Entertain me, and you will get these miniatures. Like and follow if you like some of my stuff, and always remember, seek the wolf in thyself.